Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Have you ever wanted a woman who barely noticed you? You text, she replies hours later. You lean in, she leans back. You try harder, she grows colder. And somewhere in that silent distance, you start questioning yourself. Am I not good enough? Should I try more? Should I say something smarter, be more impressive, be different? Stop. Because the more you chase attention, the further it slips away. What if I told you the key to making a woman feel drawn to you, even when she seems uninterested, is not in doing more, but in becoming less reactive? Not louder. Not softer. But steadier. This is not about manipulation. This is about mastering your presence. Because attraction does not begin in her heart. It begins in your center. And if you are willing to hear the truth most men avoid, what I'm about to share will change how you approach love forever. Welcome to the channel, Stoic Love Wisdom. This is where lessons about love will help you better understand this complex emotion. In today's video, we will learn together about how to attract a woman, even when she doesn't care. These are things that can change the way you perceive love in life. Be prepared because the secrets and insights you are about to discover may make you look back at yourself and the relationships around you. Before starting, find a quiet space, put on your headphones and relax. Let your mind completely immerse in these shares and enjoy every wonderful moment. Are you ready to discover new things about love? Let's start this journey with us right now. Part 1, the brutal truth most men refuse to accept. Before I tell you how to make a woman feel drawn to you, even when she seems indifferent, I need to strip away a dangerous illusion. You cannot make anyone feel anything. If that sentence irritates you, good. Sit with it. I've lived long enough, loved deeply enough, and lost painfully enough to understand this: attraction is never forced. It is invited. It is awakened. And most importantly, it is earned indirectly. When a woman doesn't seem interested, most men panic. They lean in harder. They text more. They try to impress. They perform. They explain themselves. They overgive. And in doing so, they slowly erase the very tension that creates attraction. Stoicism taught me something most dating advice never will. Control what is yours. Release what is not. Her feelings. Not yours. Her attention. Not yours. Her approval. Not yours. What is yours? Your character. Your composure. Your standards. Your emotional discipline. And here is the paradox most men don't understand. The moment you stop trying to be chosen, you become choosable. Attraction is not built on effort, it is built on perception. Let me speak plainly. When a woman says she's not interested, most of the time she means one of three things. She feels no emotional tension. She senses you are seeking validation. She does not perceive you as higher value than her current options. Notice what's missing. It's not about your height. Not about your car. Not even about your money, not primarily. It is about emotional positioning. Attraction lives in polarity. In uncertainty. In subtle psychological distance. In the feeling that you are not easily obtained. And that's where Stoic discipline becomes your greatest weapon. The first principle, detachment from outcome. If you want to become magnetic, you must first become internally independent. This means you do not chase responses. You do not over-explain yourself. You do not react emotionally to cold behavior. You do not seek reassurance. A woman feels safe around a man who is emotionally stable. She feels curious about a man who is not easily moved. She feels attracted to a man who has options, or at least behaves like he does. Detachment is not indifference. Detachment is strength under control. When she cancels, you respond calmly. When she takes hours to reply, you continue living your life. When she tests you with mixed signals, you do not flinch. Most men reveal desperation in micro moments. And women are incredibly sensitive to that energy. If she senses that losing her would destabilize you, attraction dies. If she senses that you would walk away peacefully, attraction begins. Why ignoring her rarely works. Now let's address a common mistake. Some men hear, "don't chase," and translate it into, "ignore her." Silence without substance is manipulation. And women can feel that too. Stoic restraint is different. You don't withdraw to punish. You withdraw because your time is valuable. You don't go silent to trigger anxiety. You go silent because you are focused on your purpose. There is a difference between strategic distance and childish games. One is power. The other is insecurity disguised as strategy. Women are drawn to grounded presence, not tactics. The real source of attraction, emotional certainty within yourself. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. When a woman is not interested, often it's because she senses you are not certain of yourself. Confidence is not loud. It is quiet certainty. It is the way you sit. The way you hold eye contact. The way you speak without rushing. The way you do not fill silence out of anxiety. Attraction is a response to emotional gravity. Gravity is not created by effort. It is created by centeredness. When you enter a room without scanning for approval, people notice. When you speak without needing validation, people lean in. When you compliment a woman without expecting reciprocation, she feels the difference. Most men compliment hoping. A centered man compliments because he wants to. That subtle difference changes everything. Scarcity is powerful, but only if it's real. If you build a life that excites you, your energy changes. You are no longer waiting for her reply. You are not rearranging your schedule for someone unsure. You are not trying to be impressive. You are simply living. And here's the strange truth, when she senses she is not the center of your world, she becomes curious about what is. Curiosity is the doorway to attraction. But it must be authentic. If your world is empty and you pretend to be busy, it shows. If your world is full, gym, business, friends, purpose, you won't need to pretend. Women are not attracted to men who want them. They are attracted to men who want their own mission first. Emotional control during tests. When a woman appears uninterested, she may be testing, consciously or unconsciously. She may respond briefly. Challenge your opinions. Mention other men. Seem distracted. If you react defensively, you fail. If you try harder, you fail. If you remain relaxed and slightly amused, you pass. A stoic man does not escalate emotionally when tension rises. He remains internally still. And stillness creates intrigue. Because she cannot predict you. And unpredictability, when grounded in calmness, creates magnetism. The hidden truth about women and attention. Here is something many men misunderstand. Attention is the currency women receive constantly. Validation is abundant in her world. So if you offer the same cheap validation as every other man, you blend in. What stands out is restraint. Measured praise. Measured availability. Measured emotional investment. Do not give more than she has earned. That doesn't mean being cold. It means matching energy, never exceeding it. The power of being willing to lose. This is where most men fail. They want attraction without risk. But the moment you are willing to walk away, truly willing, your energy shifts. You stop negotiating your standards. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop overinvesting. And ironically, that is when she may begin to invest. Why? Because attraction is built on perceived value. And value increases when access is limited. But remember, this must be genuine. If she leaves and you crumble, you were never detached. If she leaves and you continue your path, you were centered. Only one of those men becomes magnetic. Closing of part 1. Let me leave you with this. The goal is not to make her want you. The goal is to become the kind of man who is wanted. That shift changes your posture, your tone, your reactions, your standards. In the next part, I will break down the psychology behind emotional tension, and how to create subtle attraction without chasing, begging, or performing. But before we go further, ask yourself honestly. Are you trying to win her? Or are you building yourself? Because only one path leads to real power. And real power is always felt, never announced. Love is not only about happy moments, but also about challenges that help us realize our inner strength. It is through difficulties that we learn patience, tolerance, and how to love without losing ourselves. This is also the reason why I share stories here, so that you can find calmness and wisdom in your journey of love. If you feel these words touch you, please take a second to click like to spread this message. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click subscribe with the notification bell, to always be the first to receive new shares. Don't forget to leave a comment below, share your feelings or a lesson you learned after listening to this story. Each line you share is a way for us to connect and accompany each other. Now, get ready, because the next part will bring you even deeper insights. Part 2, Emotional Tension, the invisible force that creates attraction. Now that we've stripped away the illusion of control, we can speak about something more subtle, and far more powerful. Attraction is not created by effort. It is created by tension. And tension is not drama. It is not chaos. It is not manipulation. It is the psychological space between certainty and mystery. Most men kill attraction before it ever has a chance to grow because they rush to close that space. They want clarity too soon. They want commitment too soon. They want reassurance too soon. But tension lives in the unknown. And a Stoic man understands how to stand comfortably inside the unknown, without trying to collapse it. The difference between attention and impact. Let me tell you something most men confuse. Getting attention is easy. Creating impact is rare. You can send 10 clever messages. You can dress sharply. You can tell good stories. She may respond. She may laugh. She may engage. But that doesn't mean she feels something. Impact happens when your presence disrupts her emotional pattern. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But subtly. When she expected you to chase, and you didn't. When she expected you to react, and you smiled instead. When she expected approval, and you offered playful challenge. Attraction grows when expectation is gently subverted. And that requires emotional discipline. Mystery is not silence, it is depth. A mistake I made when I was younger was thinking mystery meant saying less. So I became quiet. Reserved. Minimal. But silence alone does not create intrigue. Depth does. Mystery is not about hiding who you are. It is about revealing yourself gradually. You don't explain your entire life story in the first conversation. You don't immediately reveal all your feelings. You don't hand over your full emotional availability before she has earned access to it. Think of it like this. If she can read the entire book in one sitting, there is no reason to turn the next page. But if each interaction reveals something layered, a value, a boundary, a philosophy, she becomes curious. Curiosity is the beginning of pursuit. And when she begins to pursue emotionally, attraction shifts. The Stoic frame, you are not competing. Here's a truth most men struggle with. If she is talking to other men, it does not matter. If she mentions another guy, it does not matter. If she seems distracted, it does not matter. Why? Because you are not competing. Competition energy is desperate energy. When you try to outshine, outmessage, outperform, you lower yourself into comparison. A Stoic man does not compare. He presents himself once, clearly, calmly, without apology. And then he watches. If she gravitates toward him, good. If she doesn't, he remains unchanged. That emotional stability is rare. And rarity creates value. How to create tension without games. Now let's get practical. How do you create emotional tension without manipulation? Delay gratification. If she asks when you're free, don't always say anytime. Have a schedule. Have priorities. Say, I'm tied up this week. Thursday evening works. Scarcity must reflect reality. Hold eye contact slightly longer than comfortable. Not aggressively. Not intimidating. Just grounded. Eye contact creates subconscious tension because it signals confidence and challenge simultaneously. Don't overlaugh. When a man laughs too quickly at everything she says, he communicates approval seeking. Instead, smile slowly. Let silence breathe. Silence is powerful when you are not afraid of it. Offer light disagreement. Not argument. Not criticism. But playful contrast. If she says, I hate the gym, you might respond calmly. That's because you haven't trained properly yet. Said with composure and half a smile. Agreement builds comfort. Contrast builds spark. You need both. Emotional self-control, the ultimate advantage. The strongest position you can hold is emotional neutrality. Not coldness. Neutrality. If she compliments you, you appreciate it, but you don't glow like a starving man given bread. If she withdraws slightly, you notice, but you don't pursue harder. If she tests your confidence, you remain amused. Women are intuitive. They test for emotional volatility. They want to know. Does this man collapse under uncertainty? If you become anxious when she pulls back, she feels power over you. If you remain stable, she feels safe. And safety combined with tension creates attraction. The power of non-reactivity. Let me tell you about one of the most powerful tools you can develop. Non-reactivity. She says something slightly provocative. She cancels last minute. She takes hours to reply. Instead of confronting emotionally or doubling effort, you simply adjust investment. No anger. No drama. No lecture. Just calibrated response. You give energy where energy is reciprocated. That quiet calibration does two things. It protects your dignity. It forces her to feel the shift. And often, that shift awakens curiosity. Why? Because you didn't chase. And when she senses she cannot predict your reaction, emotional tension grows. Why over-availability destroys attraction? If you are always there, you become background noise. If you respond instantly every time, you remove anticipation. If you rearrange your life repeatedly, you communicate low self-priority. A man with purpose does not orbit a woman. He invites her into his orbit. And if she declines, he continues his trajectory. This is not ego. This is alignment. When your life is structured around growth, she feels it. When your life is structured around her attention, she senses that too. And only one of those creates magnetism. The balance between warmth and distance. Here is the nuance most men miss. Too cold. You seem uninterested. too warm, you seem eager. Attraction lives in calibrated contrast. Warm when present. Busy when apart. Engaged in conversation. Detached from outcome. Interested, but not invested beyond what she gives. This balance creates emotional oscillation. And oscillation creates chemistry. When she truly isn't interested. Now let's speak honestly. Sometimes, she simply isn't interested. And no technique will change that. A Stoic man does not attempt to conquer indifference. He accepts reality quickly. But here is the twist. The way you walk away often leaves a deeper impression than any pursuit ever could. If you respond to disinterest with grace. It was good meeting you. Take care. No bitterness. No persuasion. Just grounded closure. That composure lingers. And sometimes, not always, she revisits the memory. Because most men beg. Very few walk away calmly. And calm detachment is unforgettable. Closing of Part 2. Emotional tension is not about control. It is about restraint. It is about holding yourself steady when most men would lean forward. It is about being centered when she expects reaction. In the next part, I will speak about value, not money, not status, but internal hierarchy. Because attraction is deeply connected to perceived rank. And if you misunderstand that dynamic, you will always feel like you are proving yourself. But a man who understands his position in the world does not prove. He presents. And that changes everything. Part 3, Value, Status, and the Invisible Hierarchy. Let me say something that may disturb the romantic illusions you've been fed. Attraction is not democratic. It is hierarchical. Not in a cruel way. Not in a superficial way. But in a deeply psychological way. Every human interaction carries an unspoken question. Where do you stand? Not in society. Not in money. But in internal rank. A woman who seems uninterested in you is not necessarily rejecting you as a man. She may simply perceive, consciously or unconsciously, that your internal position is lower than hers. And attraction rarely flows downward. It flows sideways. Or upward. If you want to create attraction where there is none, you must understand this invisible structure. Internal status versus external status. When I was younger, I thought status meant income, physique, clothing, social proof. Those help. Of course they do. But they are amplifiers. They are not the source. I have seen wealthy men beg for attention. I have seen physically attractive men overcompensate. I have seen successful men crumble in front of one indifferent woman. Why? Because their internal hierarchy was unstable. Internal status is the quiet conviction that you are enough. You are selective. You are not seeking rescue from loneliness. You do not need approval to validate your existence. Women sense this faster than men understand it. And here is the hard truth. If she feels you need her more than she needs you, attraction fades. It may not be logical. But attraction is rarely logical. The energy of selection. Most men enter interactions hoping to be chosen. But high-value energy comes from selecting. When you speak to her, are you evaluating her? Or are you performing for her? There is a massive psychological difference. When a man is trying to impress, his posture tightens. His speech accelerates. His humor seeks validation. When a man is assessing, his presence slows. His questions become curious, not interrogative. His silence becomes comfortable. You are not there to convince. You are there to observe. And when she senses that she is being evaluated, respectfully, calmly, her perception shifts. Because now, she feels tension. Now, she wonders. Does he like me? That question is powerful. Most men eliminate it by making their interest obvious too soon. Standards create attraction. Let me be very clear. Standards are not arrogance. They are boundaries expressed calmly. If she is disrespectful, you do not argue. You reduce investment. If she cancels repeatedly, you stop rescheduling. If she plays hot and cold excessively, you disengage. Not dramatically. Not emotionally. Simply. That behavior communicates something rare. You do not tolerate instability. And stability is magnetic. When a woman senses that access to you requires consistency, she may begin to adjust her own behavior. Not because you demanded it, but because she values the access. Social proof without showing off. Another dimension of perceived hierarchy is social presence. Do other people respect you? Not because you tell them to, but because you embody something solid. You don't need to post every social event. You don't need to mention every achievement. But your life should have movement. Friends. Ambition. Growth. Experiences. When your life has texture, your energy changes. You speak differently. You listen differently. You are not waiting for her attention to fill your day. And when she senses that your world continues with or without her, she feels the subtle pressure of scarcity. Scarcity increases perceived value. But again, only if it's authentic. The calm leader dynamic. Many women are drawn to leadership energy. Not dominance. Not control. Leadership. Leadership is decisiveness. Direction. Emotional steadiness. If she says, "I don't know, what do you want to do?" and you respond confidently, "Let's try this place. 7 p.m. That certainty reduces friction. If you constantly defer decisions, you signal lower hierarchy. Indecision communicates uncertainty. Uncertainty weakens attraction. A Stoic man makes decisions without anxiety. If the choice is wrong, he adjusts. But he does not hesitate out of fear of disapproval. Emotional independence as status. One of the highest signals of internal rank is emotional independence. If she delays responding, you don't spiral. If she mentions another man, you don't compete. If she challenges your opinion, you don't retract it to maintain harmony. You remain grounded. That groundedness creates psychological contrast. Because many men react. And when you don't react, you stand out. Non-reactivity communicates abundance. It says, "I am not threatened." And lack of threat response is deeply attractive. Stop over-explaining yourself. Men who feel lower in hierarchy tend to justify. They explain their choices excessively. They defend their jokes. They clarify their intentions too quickly. A man secure in his position does not over-explain. If she misunderstands slightly, he clarifies briefly, not defensively. If she disagrees, he listens, not retreats. Over-explanation signals fear of rejection. And fear of rejection lowers perceived status instantly. Silence, when calm, communicates confidence. When she tests your position. Sometimes, a woman will subtly test your internal rank. She might tease you lightly. Question your plans. Suggest you're too serious. Compare you to someone else. These are not attacks. They are calibrations. She is sensing your center. If you become defensive, your frame collapses. If you laugh calmly and hold your ground, your position strengthens. For example, "You're kind of intense, aren't you?" You, smiling slightly only when it matters. Delivered slowly. Without apology. You didn't shrink. You didn't argue. You reframed. That is hierarchy maintained. Value is felt before it is measured. Most men try to demonstrate value through metrics. Income. Travel. Achievements. But emotional value is felt first. How do you make her feel when she is around you? Calm. Safe. Intrigued. Challenged. Respected. If your presence feels chaotic, needy, or approval-seeking, no external metric can compensate. But if your presence feels steady and selective, attraction can grow even without flashy signals. The willingness to lose is ultimate status. Here is the final layer of hierarchy. The man who is willing to lose, without emotional collapse, stands highest. If she chooses someone else, you accept it. If she says she's not interested, you nod and move forward. You don't try to negotiate desire. Desire negotiated is desire weakened. When you respect her autonomy and maintain your dignity, you demonstrate internal power. And sometimes, that power becomes the very thing she reconsiders. But even if she doesn't, you remain intact. That is true status. Closing of Part 3. Attraction is rarely about tricks. It is about position. Not social position. Internal position. In the next part, we will go deeper, into emotional polarity and masculine presence. Because hierarchy establishes respect. But polarity ignites chemistry. And chemistry is where indifference can transform into desire. Only if you know how to hold the fire without burning yourself. At this point, you may have seen yourself in the stories above, sometimes weak, sometimes strong, and sometimes not knowing what to do in love. But it is those moments that make us real and worthy of respect. If you feel the same, please click like to let me know you are here, accompanying me. And if you haven't clicked subscribe yet, don't hesitate, because every day I will share more stories and new lessons, to help you have a calmer view of love. Now, let's move on to the final part, where we will touch on deeper things. Part 4, Polarity, the fire beneath attraction. Respect creates stability. Hierarchy creates positioning. But polarity creates fire. And without fire, there is no desire. You can be admired and still not be wanted. You can be respected and still not be craved. Polarity is what separates a good guy from a man she feels drawn toward. And polarity begins with understanding masculine presence, not performance, not aggression, presence. Masculine presence is directional energy. Masculinity, at its core, is directional. It moves toward purpose. It makes decisions. It holds structure. Feminine energy, in contrast, is fluid. It feels. It reacts. It responds to containment. When a woman seems uninterested, often it's because she feels no polarity. Perhaps you are too accommodating. Too agreeable. Too emotionally available too quickly. You have removed tension by trying to create comfort. But attraction is not born in comfort alone. It is born in contrast. A grounded masculine presence next to feminine fluidity creates charge. Without contrast, there is neutrality. And neutrality is where desire dies. Stop trying to be safe too early. Many men believe they must prove they are harmless. So they soften their tone. They overvalidate. They suppress their opinions. But here's what I learned through experience. Women feel safer around strength and softness. Not harshness. Strength. Strength means you have opinions. You have boundaries. You are not afraid of disagreement. You are not emotionally fragile. When she senses that you can handle intensity without flinching, she relaxes. And when she relaxes, attraction has space to grow. The art of controlled intensity. Polarity is created through controlled intensity. Not loudness. Intensity is the way you hold eye contact when you speak. It is the way you pause before responding. It is the slight lowering of your voice when you say something meaningful. It is not about being theatrical. It is about being fully present. Most men scatter their attention. They look around. They check their phone. They talk without weight. Presence is rare. And when you give someone undivided attention without seeking approval, they feel seen, but not owned. That combination is electric. Teasing without disrespect. Playful tension is one of the most powerful forms of polarity. But it must be calibrated. If she says she's bad at cooking, instead of reassuring instantly, you might smile and say, "So I should be cautious." Delivered calmly. With warmth. The key is tone. Polarity is destroyed when teasing becomes defensive or sarcastic. It thrives when teasing feels grounded and relaxed. You are not trying to diminish her. You are inviting emotional spark. Agreement builds comfort. Playful friction builds attraction. You need both, but in balance. Physical energy and body language. Your body communicates before your words do. If you lean in too quickly, you signal pursuit. If you shrink your posture, you signal insecurity. Stand grounded. Shoulders relaxed. Movements slow. Stillness communicates confidence. Fast, erratic gestures communicate nervousness. And nervousness reduces polarity. When she speaks, listen fully. When you speak, don't rush. Let your words land. Slowness, when natural, signals certainty. Certainty is magnetic. Don't over-emotionalize too soon. Here's where many men collapse polarity. They confess feelings prematurely. They speak about future possibilities too early. They intensify emotionally before the foundation is built. Polarity thrives in gradual escalation. Let emotional depth unfold layer by layer. If she senses that you are already emotionally invested beyond her level, she feels pressure. Pressure reduces desire. Let her wonder. Let her lean in. Let her feel the space between what is said and what is implied. Tension lives in that space. Sexual energy without crudeness. This is delicate. But it must be addressed. A man who suppresses all sexual energy appears neutral. A man who expresses it crudely appears unsafe. Polarity requires subtle acknowledgement of attraction. It can be in the way you hold her gaze slightly longer. In the way your tone shifts when you compliment her. "You look good tonight." Simple. No exaggeration. No desperation. Then change topic. Don't linger. Don't stare excessively. Signal attraction, then regain composure. That push-pull dynamic creates spark. Emotional leadership. When conversations dip into uncertainty, you remain steady. If she shares something vulnerable, you don't rush to fix. You hold space. You listen. You respond with calm grounding. That emotional containment creates polarity. Because you are not dissolving into her emotions. You are anchoring them. Women are often surrounded by men who react. Few encounter men who remain centered. Centering is attractive. The danger of over-adaptation. If you mirror everything she says, you eliminate contrast. If she loves travel, you suddenly love travel. If she dislikes something, you align immediately. This creates sameness. Sameness kills polarity. Difference, respectfully expressed, creates tension. You don't need to oppose for the sake of it. But you must remain yourself. Authenticity is more attractive than forced compatibility. The moment she pulls back. Here is where polarity is tested. If she senses growing attraction, she may instinctively pull back slightly. Not because she's uninterested, but because she feels the shift. If you chase at that moment, tension collapses. Instead, reduce intensity slightly. Match her pace. Let her reapproach. Attraction deepens when she feels she chose to lean in. Not when she felt pulled. Polarity requires self-control. Desire unmanaged becomes pressure. Desire controlled becomes magnetism. If you are easily overwhelmed by her beauty or charm, she feels it. If you can appreciate her without losing composure, she feels that too. The difference is subtle, but profound. Controlled desire communicates strength. Uncontrolled desire communicates scarcity. And scarcity weakens polarity. When there is no spark. Sometimes, despite everything, there is no polarity. No spark. No tension. In that case, forcing it is pointless. Polarity cannot be manufactured artificially. It emerges from genuine masculine-feminine contrast. And if that contrast is absent, the wise man accepts it. Not every woman is meant to feel your fire. But when your presence is grounded, directional, and disciplined, the right ones will. Closing of Part 4. Hierarchy creates respect. Polarity creates desire. But there is one final layer, perhaps the most important. Inner stillness. Because without inner stillness, all techniques collapse under pressure. In the final part, I will speak about the ultimate Stoic advantage, becoming unshakable. And why the man who cannot be emotionally destabilized is the man who becomes unforgettable. Not because he tries to be, but because he simply is. Part 5, Inner Stillness, the Unshakable Man. If you've followed me this far, you already understand something most men never will. Attraction is not about tactics. It is about state. And state is not something you perform. It is something you cultivate. Now we arrive at the final layer, the foundation beneath hierarchy, beneath polarity, beneath tension. Inner stillness. Because without stillness, every strategy collapses the moment pressure appears. And pressure always appears. The man who cannot be moved. There is a type of man women remember. Not because he was loud. Not because he chased relentlessly. Not because he overwhelmed them with affection. But because he was unmoved. She teased him, he smiled. She delayed responding. He continued living. She pulled back slightly, he adjusted calmly. She expressed interest, he appreciated it without intoxication. That emotional equilibrium is rare. And rarity creates magnetism. When a woman senses that your emotional world does not depend on her reactions, she feels two things simultaneously. Curiosity. Respect. Curiosity invites her closer. Respect keeps her there. Detachment is not coldness. Let's clarify something dangerous. Stoic detachment is not emotional numbness. It is emotional regulation. You feel attraction. You feel disappointment. You feel excitement. But you are not controlled by those feelings. You observe them. You choose your response. Most men react. Few men respond. Reaction is impulsive. Response is deliberate. And deliberate behavior signals internal strength. Why emotional neediness is so obvious. Neediness is rarely spoken. It is felt. It appears in double texts when she doesn't respond. Overanalyzing her tone. Excessive reassurance seeking. Trying to fix a drop in enthusiasm. Neediness says, My emotional stability depends on your validation. That is a heavy burden for anyone to carry. And instinctively, she will step back. Not because she dislikes you, but because she feels pressure. Attraction requires lightness. And lightness is impossible when you are emotionally attached to outcomes. The power of internal abundance. Here's the truth most men resist. If she is your only option, she will feel it. Even if you never say it. Internal abundance does not mean juggling multiple women. It means your life is full enough that one person's attention does not define your worth. Purpose. Health. Brotherhood. Ambition. These are not accessories. They are anchors. When your identity is diversified, romantic fluctuation does not destabilize you. And when you are stable, you are attractive. Because stability feels safe. And safety combined with tension becomes desire. When she tests your emotional core. At some point, if attraction begins to grow, she may test your center more intensely. She may withdraw briefly. She may express doubt. She may say something like, "I'm not sure this will work." This is the moment most men panic. They persuade. They reassure excessively. They overcommit. But the unshakable man does something different. He listens. He nods. He says calmly, "I understand. Let's see where it goes." No pressure. No plea. No defensive speech. That calm response communicates supreme confidence. Because you are not afraid of losing what is uncertain. And paradoxically, that reduces her fear. Silence as strength. Silence makes insecure men uncomfortable. They rush to fill it. But silence, when grounded, is powerful. After you say something meaningful, pause. Let it settle. When she finishes speaking, hold eye contact briefly before replying. Not as a tactic. As a natural rhythm. Stillness slows interaction. And slowness builds depth. Depth builds emotional weight. Emotional weight builds memory. You want to be remembered, not because you performed, but because you felt solid. Walking away without bitterness. Sometimes, despite your strength, she will not choose you. This is where your Stoic foundation is revealed. Do you resent? Do you criticize her decision? Do you attempt one last persuasive effort? Or do you smile and say, "I respect that"? Then you leave with dignity. A man who can exit without hostility leaves a final impression of strength. Even if she never returns, you remain intact. And if she does reconsider, it will not be because you chased. It will be because your composure contrasted with everyone else's desperation. The long game of attraction. Understand something crucial. You are not trying to manufacture instant obsession. You are cultivating long-term magnetism. Magnetism is built through consistency, emotional regulation, authentic confidence, self-respect. Flashy tactics may create short-term spikes. But only internal stability creates lasting impact. When she thinks of you, she should recall. He felt different. Different not because you tried to be mysterious. But because you were grounded. Becoming the prize, without saying it. The final shift is subtle. You no longer ask, "How do I make her like me?" You ask, "Does she align with my life?" That shift changes everything. Your questions change. Your posture changes. Your investment changes. You stop auditioning. You start evaluating. And when she senses that you are not easily impressed, she may begin to invest more. Not because you manipulated her. But because value attracts value. The ultimate Stoic advantage. The Stoics understood something timeless. You control your actions. You do not control outcomes. In love, this truth becomes even more powerful. You can present strength. You can cultivate depth. You can embody polarity. But you cannot force desire. And the moment you accept that fully, you relax. Relaxed strength is irresistible. Because it carries no agenda. Final words. If you want to attract a woman who currently seems indifferent, do not chase her attention. Elevate your presence. Strengthen your center. Refine your standards. Build a life that excites you. And interact with her from that position, not from lack. Some will remain indifferent. Let them. Some will grow curious. Welcome them calmly. But the goal was never to control her feelings. The goal was to become unshakable. Because the man who is unshakable does not need to demand attraction. He naturally commands it. And whether she chooses you or not, you remain powerful. That is Stoic love. That is masculine discipline. And that, more than any technique, is what makes a man unforgettable. Conclusion. If you have understood everything we've discussed, then you already see the deeper truth. Attraction is not something you chase. It is something that happens in response to who you are. You cannot force a woman to feel desire. You cannot negotiate genuine interest. You cannot convince someone into emotional chemistry. But you can become the kind of man whose presence naturally shifts the atmosphere. A man grounded in self-control. A man anchored in purpose. A man who does not collapse under uncertainty. A man who is warm, yet not needy. Strong, yet not aggressive. Interested, yet not dependent. When a woman appears uninterested, the immature reaction is to try harder. The Stoic reaction is to turn inward and strengthen. Refine your body. Sharpen your mind. Expand your mission. Elevate your standards. Because the real transformation does not happen in her emotions. It happens in your identity. And here is the paradox. The moment you no longer need her attention, your presence becomes more compelling. The moment you are willing to walk away, you become harder to ignore. The moment your happiness no longer depends on her response, you become emotionally attractive. Some women will still choose someone else. Let them. Your power was never in controlling outcomes. Your power is in remaining centered regardless of them. Attraction built on tactics fades. Attraction built on inner strength endures. So do not aim to be irresistible. Aim to be unshakable. And the right woman will feel it, without you ever having to prove a thing. Thank you for watching the whole video. I hope that today's sharing about love will bring you new perspectives and help you gain valuable lessons. If you find the video useful, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel and share it with your loved ones. I am very grateful for your companionship, and hope that each video will help you get closer to a happy and lasting love. See you in the next videos. Wish you a wonderful and inspired day.